Hello students, welcome back to your science class. So students, in the previous class we had completed with the chapter of management of natural resources. We have understood that what are the different types of natural resources are there, as well as we have also understood that what are the different resources and its importance, as well as why it is necessary to manage the natural resources, why it is important to protect our natural resources, our forest, our wildlife, what are the different causes by which the resources get damaged, and how we can help it by the proper management. Now today we will going to start again with the chapter that is how do organisms reproduce. So let us start. So how do organisms reproduce, the students? Yes. See, the reproduction of the organisms, it occurs with the help of see, in this chapter we will going to study about the life process, the kind of a life process which help an organism like plants or animals are there, which help them to keep alive. Now see, all the living organism which lives, they are having the life cycle. Life cycle, it means they grow old with time and ultimately they die. In fact, every living organism who remain alive on the earth for a limited period of a time and then they dies. So it is important, this is because of that it is important that the new organism have to be produced in place of those who dies. Right? Yes, it is really important that the organism which is there must produce the new organism. And this production of a new organism from the existing organism of the same species is known as reproduction. So the production of a new organism from that of the existing organism which is of a same species, they are called as reproduction. So this is a process in which parents give birth to their young ones, or the parents produces their new organism which is of the same species, which belongs to same species, which is of same type. That process is called as reproduction. In a simple word, we can say reproduction is what? The creation of new living things from the existing living things. Actually, one of the most important characteristics of the living organism is to reproduce. Yes, we have seen a lot of a different characteristic of a living beings, and we have understood it and we have used it in order to differentiate between a living and a non-living thing. And this is one of the major characteristic of a living organism, or an ability you can say, in which they can reproduce more and more number of their species. Okay, so this is one of the characteristic of a living being. Reproduction, it is essential. Why? For the survival. If there will be no reproduction occur, no survival will be there of the species. Why these days the continuous decrease in the number of species is? The first thing, they are not able to attack, and the second thing, that they are not reproducing in a good amount, and just because of that the survival is in danger. So every living organism who wants to live, who wants to maintain the kind of their species, they must show the process of reproduction. So we can say here that the process of the reproduction is important because for the continuity of life on the earth. It ensures the continuity. For example, human being is there, students. So human being, they used to reproduce by giving birth to the babies, and these babies, they grow, ultimately become adult. So when the old parent die, their son, the daughter, they keep living on this earth. And these son and daughter also reproduce by giving more babies, and this process goes on and on. So this is what? This is the continuity of the life on the earth. So we can say that reproduction by human being, it ensures that the human species will continue to exist on this earth for all the time to come. Similarly, other organisms also, they used to give birth to their young ones in order to remain there, the species to continue to life on this earth. Many plants are there, students. Plants, you know that they also show the reproduction with the help of the seed. So when a seed germinates, these germinated seed, roots and shoots grow along with it, and that is how the formation of a new species occur. Let us see here. See, it is given that reproduction is not necessary to maintain the life of an individual organism, unlike the essential life process such as nutrition, respiration, and excretion. On the other hand, if an individual organism is going to create more individual, a lot of energy will be spent in this process. So why should an organism waste energy on a process it does not need to stay alive? It would be interesting to discuss the possible answers in the classroom. You see, students, here it is said that life process, it includes a lot of a different kind of processes like nutrition, digestion is there, digestive system is there which help in the digestion, respiratory system is there which is helping the process of respiration, that excretory system help in releasing the excreta from the body, then circulatory system is there which help in carrying the thing from one place to the other place. Reproductive system is not necessary, although we can say that it actually consumes more amount of energy in the process of reproduction. But why it is important? It is important for the continuity of the species. This is a process which gives rise to more organisms with the same characteristic as their parents. For example, human being, they are always going to produce the human babies only. Cats, they are always going to produce kittens only. Sunflower seed always produce sunflower plant only. So we can say here that the organism used to reproduce or they lay egg, their babies are always what? They are always of a same kind as the parent are. Okay. So the reproduction process is important for that. Here one more thing before we go further, and that is parents and offspring. The existing organism or the organism which produces or which shows the reproduction, that is called as parents, and the new organism which is produced from the parents, they are called as offspring. So offspring are what? They are the new organisms. Now let us see. Do organisms create exact copies of themselves? Organisms look similar because their body design are similar. If body design are to be similar, the blueprint for these designs should be similar. Thus, the reproduction at its most basic level will involve making copies of blueprint of body design. We already have learnt about the chromosome in the nucleus of a cell contain information for inheritance of feature from parents to the next generation in the form of a DNA molecule. DNA in the cell nucleus is the information source for making protein, and if the information is changed, different protein will be made. Different protein will eventually lead to altered body design. Basically what happened here, the question is that organisms, they look very similar. Their body designs are similar. Obviously because of that they are similar. When we talk about its own species, the human being will going to give birth to the human being only. So how human beings are different from the other organism? They are different because of their body structure. So obviously, if the body structure will be different, only then we can say that the organism differ from each other. And how they look similar to each other? Because the kind of a body structure they have, their own organism are also having the same kind of a body structure. Like we are having nose, the face is there, a head is there, we can stand in at two limbs. The four limbs is actually our hand. So we can say here that since we are of a one kind, we are having our own structure, body structure, that's why we look similar. And the blueprint of these designs also, these body structure is also similar. We have learned about the chromosome, students. Chromosomes are what? It is in the nucleus of the cell, and it contains the information. Information of what? Inheritance of feature from the parents to the next generation. Chromosomes are basically present in the nucleus, and nucleus is what? It is the center of the cell, right? So chromosome in the nucleus of the cell, it actually carrying the information which is carried by that of the parents, and pass this information to the next generation. See, we are what? We are very similar to our parents. Why is it so? Because some of the characteristic has been given by parents to us. The chromosomes is carried away from the parents to the offspring. Half from the mother, half from the father. And it is because of that we look similar to our parents only, to our father or to our mother. So it is the chromosomes which is actually carrying which is present in the nucleus and carrying the information for inheritance of feature from parents to next generation in the form of DNA. DNA is what, student? That is deoxyribonucleic acid. This DNA molecule is what? Carrying the information in chromosome. The DNA in the cell nucleus is the information source for making protein. Actually, DNA, the information help. How does information help? This information help in it carrying the information regarding the type of a protein is to be made. The kind of a characteristic you have, it is because of the information, and the information influences to make proteins. And if the information, suppose it is changed, then the different protein will be made. So DNA in the cell nucleus, it consisting of the information source for making protein, and if suppose the information is changed, different protein will be made here. Although we know that the different protein will eventually lead to the altered body design. Yes, if you are having any kind of information and now the DNA gets changed due to some problem, or the information get changed, if it alter the body design, it will show changes in the body design also. Therefore, a basic event in the reproduction is the creation of DNA copy. Cell use chemical reaction to build copy of their DNA, and this create two copies of DNA in a reproducing cell, and they will need to be separated from each other. See, the process of a reproduction is what? It's actually the creation of a DNA copy. DNA copy is created here. Obviously, if we are transferring the information, so copying of DNA must be there, and cell, it uses the chemical reaction to build up copies of their DNA. They used to perform the chemical reaction in order to make the copy, and this create two copies of DNA in a reproducing cell. When we say reproducing cell or a gamete cell, it is the same thing. It means when we this reproducing cells or gametes, they used to get segregated, they used to carry the characters from the parent or the mother. So that's why it is written here that the cell, they uses the chemical reaction and they build the copy of the DNA. Okay, and this DNA, which is a for 2 copy, or this 2 copy of a DNA in the reproducing cell, they will need to separate each other. However, keeping 1 copy of the DNA in the original cell and simply pushing the other one would not break. So the 2 copies in the reproducing cell, out of that, actually they get separated from each other, and one of the copy is in the original cell and the other one is pushed into that of the reproducing cell. Now the DNA copying is accompanied by creation of an additional cellular apparatus, and then the DNA copies separate each with its cellular apparatus, effectively a cell divides to give rise to 2 cells. Basically what happened here, students, the DNA get copied, and after this DNA copying, this gets segregated, this gets separated in the cellular apparatus, and now each of the DNA which gets separated is having their own cellular apparatus, so that when they will come, they can divide and forms the new cells. A cell divides, then what happens? There is the formation of a 2 cells also again, and these 2 cells are what? They are similar or they are likely to be identical. So actually it is that of the DNA copying only which help in generating the similarity between that of the parent to the progeny, and parent to that of the progeny, and there is also some variation also while copying. It is because that even though we are having the characteristic of our parents, but we are little bit different from our parents, because some of the property we get it from mother and from father, and due to this variation there is changes in that of in their property. So we can say here that there is some variation in each time. As a result, see here what it is written, that no biochemical reaction is absolutely reliable. Therefore, it is only expected that the process of copying the DNA will also have some variation, but may not variation each time. So, process when the copying of DNA occurs, students, every time there is some variation occurs, and because of this variation only, the children, the progeny, the offsprings, they look similar to their parents. They are not exact copy of their parents. Okay, so we can say here that the DNA generated, it will be similar but may not be identical to the original, and some of these variation might be so drastic that the new DNA copying work with the cellular apparatus it inherits. So sometimes the copying of the DNA, it shows a lot of a variation, and it will be in such a way that the new DNA which is formed, it will be not able to work with the cellular apparatus that it inherits, and such a newborn cell will simply die. Obviously, if a variation is this much, that it will be not able, the new DNA will be not able to work with the cellular apparatus, such kind of a cell will be what? That will be die. Now, there could be many reasons or many variations in the DNA copy that would not lead to such a drastic outcome. Thus, the surviving cell are similar to but subtly different from each other, And this inbuilt tendency for variation during reproduction is the basis of evolution. See, we are saying that the copying of DNA occurs, and when the DNA copying occurs, students, we have seen that it is not very similar. Some of the variation will be there every time. Each time we will find a variation, and this variation will what? This variation during the reproduction will make a offspring, will make a young one similar to their parents, but again there will be some dissimilarity also. And due to this variation during reproduction, it is what? It is the basis of evolution. What happened in the evolution? How one organism get converted to other? How an organism grow and developed? So basically it is what? It is the human evolution, or it is the evolution basically. So the process of the evolution occur also by the variation. Now let us try to understand that what is the importance of variation. Population of organism will well-defined place or niches in ecosystem, using their ability to reproduce. The consistency of DNA copying during reproduction is important for the maintenance of body design features that allow the organism to use a particular niche. Reproduction is therefore linked to the stability of the population of species. However, niches can change because of reason beyond the control of the organism. Here it is saying that in our ecosystem, the population of an organism are having the ability to reproduce. So consistency of a DNA copying, it is really important. Why? For the maintenance of the body design, and which allow the organism to use that of the particular niche. But niches can be changed, students, and there are some reason which is not in the control of the organism. Like temperature on the earth. The temperature on the earth can go up and down. Water level can vary. There could be meteorite hits. Lot of examples are there, due to which there is a change in the niches. And you see, all these things are what? Which it is not in our control. So if a population of a reproducing organism was suited to particular niche, and if the niche were drastically altered, the population could be wiped out. However, if some variation will be there in a few individuals in these population, there would be some chance for them to survive. Thus, if there is a population of a bacteria living in a temperature water, and if the water temperature were increased by global warming, most of the bacteria would die, but the few variant resistant to heat would survive and grow further. So because of that, variation is useful. See, here it is explaining why evolution is important. Suppose there is any kind of a change occur, like in temperature, if a meteorite hits. So what happened during all these climatic conditions, due to the change in the climatic conditions, there is a possibility that the organism may be not able to survive and can die. But if there is some variation, then the chances of the survival will also get increased. How? There were some bacteria which were very temperature conscious, which were not able to survive in a hot temperature. But with the passage of time, they we can say that the new bacteria which came, they start living in a temperate water, and the water temperature were to be increased by the global warming, most of these bacteria would die. So most of the bacteria would die because most of them will not able to adapt according to that. But there are some who shows the variation, who is having the ability to survive in a hot water also, hot temperature also. So they are resistant to heat. They have developed a property which vary them from the other, that is called as variation. So that's why they are what? They are easily survive in such a poor situation or condition. So what does that mean here by overall? That the variation is important for the survival of every living organism.